Hello everyone, good evening. I hope I'm audible to each one of you. So, before we properly start with our live session, we will be waiting for a minute so that everyone who wants to be in this live session to listen to all of that can just join. Good evening, all. I hope the voice is properly audible. If there is any issue, please let me know. Okay. Okay. Welcome to live, everyone. Okay. All right. Now, I think it's good 3 minutes into the live. Now we can begin with our live session. So, first of all, welcome to the live session of Ecoholics. In today's live session, we are going to discuss the Indian Economic Services paper 2023, and we will be discussing about the GE1, General Economics 1 paper, consisting of microeconomics and the quantitative economics. So, first of all those people here who have already given this exam, who themselves attempted this exam, tell me, how was your exam? What are your views? How was the paper? And if we have the students here from Ecoholics, how did your paper go? What all you're looking forward to? So just let me know here. Okay, I'm just having a look at all of your comments. Okay, and now, if you have been the one who is preparing for the Indian Economic Services paper for 2024, then this paper is going to be, then this live, the paper discussion is going to be really helpful for you. So I think it's the time, it's just start discussing our paper without taking any other minute from you. Okay. Okay, so one is asking IES के लिए कौन सी books पढ़नी पड़ती हैं? So for that we have a lot of videos, and for that there will be different sessions. Today we have gathered here for discussing paper. Talking about the books will not be feasible, but we already have a lot of sessions there, so you can go and watch them. It was better than the last time. Okay, for a good 3 month preparation. Okay, then let's just begin with our discussions now. Okay. So section A. So I'm first starting with section A. So in section A, since it's a compulsory section, you all know about this. So what do we get is, we get 7 questions and 5 marks each. So it goes to 35. Now what happens is, in this 5 marks question, this is the place where UPSC just tricks you a lot by many times giving you little lengthy questions. So what happens is that, so in this live session I will be telling you the approach as well, that how how are you going to go about it. So sometimes what they do is, in 5 mark questions they start asking you little lengthy questions. As soon as you see the question, you feel happy that okay, mujhe aata hai, I know this question. But what is the problem is that it's lengthy. Or 5 marks के लिए we start taking a lot of time. So the first thing you have to do in section A, since it's a compulsory section, so do not waste a lot of time on doing a 5 marker question. ऐसा नहीं है कि you are wasting 20 minutes, 15 minutes on this. Try to do this as soon as possible. Okay, so before we will be doing a complete analysis of the paper, but I believe this year's paper was conceptually built. So it was conceptually built. When I say conceptually built, the things was not asked indirectly, instead they were asked directly. Like for the first time you can say IES ka exam is directly asked instead of indirect things. Now what happens is we all have been doing PYQs. PYQs were majorly you have to show proof, you have to solve the question and all of that. So we were in a habit of doing all of that and we started forgetting about our concepts. So even in our classes, when we take batches at Ecoholics, we always tell our students that conceptual clarity is something you can never skip. I always tell them in the class that either it's a quantitative economics, but if your concepts are clear, no, nothing can just beat you. No amount of difficulty can beat you because if you know concepts, so if conceptual question comes, you will be able to answer it. If numerical question comes, then also you will be able to answer this. So everyone here, the students of Ecoholics, all of those who are here would agree to this thing that in our classes we have always focused onto the conceptual clarity. And I believe all the students who are our students who were enrolled with us for our batches, unke liye paper must be comparatively easy than the other people. Reason being, we have always built on the concepts. Good evening, Rudita. All right. So let me now go with the questions now. So of course, in this 1 hour live session, it won't be feasible if I just sit and solve each and every statement, each and every question. Of course, it's not possible. For the proper discussion, for the proper solution of each and every question, we are going to conduct the classes on our app, for which you guys will be notified really soon. So all of you can just follow us, you can be in contact with us, and we are going to conduct proper detailed solution classes. But it's on our app, so you can download the app and you can just wait for the notification. It will be in the coming week only, so it's going to be quickly there, and you can just take help of that. But I will be talking about the questions in today's session. So don't feel demotivated right here because we are going to talk about the questions. We will be talking about all of the questions here. Okay? So now, let's just start. Now, let's just start. In a two good world, show that both the goods cannot be inferior. So this particular question, like when I just saw this question in the paper, I was really happy. The reason being, we put the same question, we had the same question in our test series, and I was happy for the students who have written this in the test series that they must be knowing a proper answer because we provide them with the model answer. So at least their 5 marks, first question, first part, and the 5 marks are secured. There is no better feeling than this. So you had to just show that, okay, both the goods cannot be inferior. In this, you can begin with the reasoning. You could have begun with the reasoning that why both of the goods cannot be inferior. That's the only way you can answer this question. You can present your proper reasoning that why both of them cannot be inferior. The reason being, when both of them become inferior and your income will increase as a consumer, you will reduce the consumption of both goods, because in inferior goods, as soon as your income increases, you reduces the consumption. So when you reduce consumption, you come below the budget line. And if you come below the budget line, how are you going to achieve the optimal solution? So that's how you have to show. You can bring the maths as well here. You can show the optimality conditions as well as reasoning. Then the second question. This question I particularly did in class. Like we did this question, exactly same question in the class. So another question, as soon as I saw the second question, I was then again happy that, okay, the students would have known this. So students would be happy after seeing the paper that they have at least done this. So as soon as you have a look at this, this equation, it gives a fear in the mind of students. डर लगता है कि अरे कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है और इलास्टिसिटी और सब्स्टिट्यूशन निकालना है, नहीं होगा, निकलेगा ही नहीं, फंस जाएंगे, वी विल बी स्टक इन द कैलकुलेशंस. तो बहुत सारे लोग, मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल जस्ट स्टार्ट थिंकिंग लाइक दिस एंड दे डू नॉट इवन गिव इट अ ट्राई. So elasticity of substitution can be solved very easily by following very simple tricks. So you do not have to do a lot of difficult calculations. You just have to use this formula. Partial derivative of log MRTS a minute. Just a minute. I will need an eraser here. Okay. So now you just needed this small formula while solving for the elasticity of substitution. Okay, you just needed this formula, that partial derivative of log K by L with respect to log MRTS. This is the simple formula you were required to solve this entire question, and this would have been done with, just in 5 to 6 steps. If you have done the practice for such kind of questions, in 5 to 6 steps only, this question was doable. After that, question number C, differentiate between adverse selection and moral hazards in determining pricing under incomplete information. It was a direct question, static question, so that was directly doable if you have done your readings, if you have done the preparation for the same concept. Yes, using log. So yes, Akshat, correct. So in MRTS, this elasticity of substitution, when you take log, it becomes the easiest method of solving this. So part C was direct only, it was static, so no if and but, very easy question. Then in a 2 input framework, state and prove the adding up theorem with necessary in assumptions. This question is really, really very easy. Like straightforward question they have asked. You have to do the adding up theorem, right? You have to just do the adding up theorem. इससे ज़्यादा easy, I do not know what will it be. Like, again, of course, I believe that the conceptual clarity is something which will be helping you in solving each and every question. Then how do you derive the aggregate demand? Again, a very direct and a static question. Like, how do you derive it? How do you do it? So we know that aggregate demand for a private good is done by horizontal summation, whereas for a public good, it is done by the vertical summation. Now we just had to write this. We just had to, explain this. Along with explanation, we had to do the diagram for derivation. That's how you will go about it, because it's a 5 mark. There is a word limit, so you cannot go over and above that. Then this question, like in mathematical economics, everyone study the Lagrange method. Everyone study the Lagrange method. But the problem was, everyone knows how to maximize something, how to minimize something, subject to a constraint, but no one knew that until and unless you won't listen to something, you won't read it properly, you won't read the theory. Till that time, you won't be able to answer such questions. So as I was mentioning myself that we focus a lot on conceptual clarity. So this conceptual knowledge that okay, what is Lagrange method, why it is used, what is the economic interpretation of this, would have helped the students there, right? So what is the Lagrange in utility maximization? What is the Lagrange? This is the Lagrange multiplier. This is the lambda we use with the constraint. So what does lambda any which way tells you? Lambda always tell you that whatever you're maximizing or minimizing, subject to a budget constraint. So whenever there comes a change, how is that going to be affected? That is what it tells us. So in utility maximization, a lambda tells us that okay, if you have to, if you have that while you're maximizing your utility, the constraint is budget constraint. So it tells the trade-off, or it tells the rate at which the utility of the consumer will change when there comes even a small change in income, but his utility still gets maximized. So when his income is changing, how is that going to affect the change in utility? But the condition is the utility derived there should again be maximized. Okay. Similarly, for expenditure minimization, it was telling us that okay, how the consumer is willing to trade off one good with another while maintaining the constant utility level. In output maximization, Lagrange tells us the marginal product of the input, and so that what amount of marginal output you're going to gain if there is a small increase in the usage of the input. And then the cost minimization may, in this the Lagrange tell us that okay, what is the marginal cost of the input. So these are the explanations, the interpretations here. Then this question, when I just saw this question, I was like, okay, this is what we expect from UPSC, that yes, they are not going to just give you to calculate the degrees of freedom. They can ask you its meaning. So until and unless you have not read, you have not done the degrees of freedom, you have not understood it, even though you were doing self-study or even though you have been enrolled here. So it becomes the prime duty of the teachers, to come and tell you the meaning of each and every question. It's not, it's the duty of someone else if you are enrolled with someone, if you're reading, learning from somewhere. But if you're self-studying, then it's your duty to know the interpretation of each and every word. So what does a degree of freedom tells us? What does it tell us in statistical inference? What does it actually mean? So degree of freedom basically it tells you that how many independent pieces of information we have in our question, in our data. That after putting restrictions, how many independent information set do we have? Because we need the independent information for doing any statistical inference, doing any parameter testing, doing any test statistic basically. So that's the thing. Basically, degrees of freedom is going to help you to get to the proper critical value on the basis of which you can do your hypothesis testing. Since it was a 5-mark question, so there was ample amount of things which you could have written here, like ample amount of things, because degrees of freedom has a lot of things. Okay. Now, coming to section B. So what do you think? When I'm discussing it now, what do you think? Is it easy? Section A was easy? Because from my side, I feel it was quite easy. For the students of Ecoholics, at least, it should have been easy. Do we have our students here? What do you have to say? Okay, let me see the chat box. Let me see the comment section. Okay, definitely. Question 1F part, Rudita is asking only theoretical answer. Yes, definitely theoretical answer. If you want to show the equation by putting the Lagrange, Rudita, you can do that as well. You can even show that what does the Lagrange mean here. So you just have to show this thing. The equation divided by lambda. So you have to show this interpretation basically. Okay, so Rishabh is asking, lambda shows the marginal utility of money in utility maximization problem. So it tells us that, okay, yes, how is when income is going to increase, how is the utility going to increase? But with that increase in income, I still want the utility of the consumer to maximize. It was easy, make? Okay. 3 were correct for you, Akshat. Okay. So, all right. Now, after this, let's come to section B. So, section B, let's see what is there all in section B. So, in section B, we have the first question. Explain the relevance of including an intercept term in a classical linear regression model. So, when we start with the topic of regression, what do we have? The first thing we learn is if I write the equation like this, yi equals to beta 1 plus beta 2 xi plus mu I. What do we talk about at the first thing? We talk about beta 1. What do we say? What is beta 1 going to tell us? We always say that, okay, the beta 1 tells us the minimum or maximum accordingly, the baseline value basically achieved by yi when the xi is 0. So basically when the independent variable is absent, what is the baseline value taken up by the dependent variable? But the question was that why it is important? What is the relevance? So in brief, you of course have to mention about the usage of intercept term, because the usage is itself the relevance. Always remember this thing. But what is relevance? So all the omitted factors in the equation, those are captured by beta 1. Or whenever you have to improve the fitness of your model, the intercept terms helps you a lot in improving the fitness of your model. And also it allows us to properly present. So the relationship between independent and dependent variable is more accurately presented because of the presence of this intercept term. So do we have anything? Yes, intercept when x is equal to 0. So this question was pretty much easy. So it was a 5-marker question. Very easy to write for 5 marks. Then it was, how do you calculate elasticity from a linear regression model? So so when I do econometrics, when I teach econometrics, we do a topic where we not only talk about linear regression, but we do talk about the various non-linear forms of a regression model. And I always say that then what is important in them? Like this year only, twice, 2 questions have appeared from that topic. I have always told students that interpretation of non-linear regression models is really important, and you should do that. You should never skip that. This is very easy. So what is this? Now they have just asked you it in a different way. Instead of asking the interpretation directly, they have asked that how will you calculate elasticity? So for calculating elasticity, we have a double log model. So log yi equals to beta 1 plus beta 2 log xi. So here beta 2 measures the elasticity of y with respect to x. But how do we get this equation? It's like this. Yi equals to beta 1. So we do not write beta 1 here because we need to take the log here. So just here we take a xi beta 2. So when I take log, this will be becoming log yi equals to log a plus beta 2 log xi. Now log a I am calling as beta 1. So this becomes a linear regression in the logarithm of x and y. So this question was exactly done in the classes also. So that is how we do it. ठीक है. Now, coming to, so question number 2, A part done. Coming to question number B from second part only. So there is this model given to us and we have to find these things. Like, I don't know कि इससे easy what will be asked in the IES papers. इससे easy कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता. Like, they are giving you the model and they are asking you to calculate this. This is the simplest thing they can ask from regression. Like when we do regression, that's how we prepare ourselves. So formulas, doing formulas is the most important thing. I always said this thing. I always mention this thing, even if it's my live sessions on YouTube or during my classes or to the test series students, that econometrics, each and every formula should be clear in your mind. And this should also be clear that if certain type of data is given, how do we have to do it? So if there are multiple formulas, you should be clear about that. It's very easy. R square calculation, very easy. You have been given ESS, you have been given RSS. So TSS is equal to ESS plus RSS. So for the first part, you had to calculate R square, which is ESS upon TSS. Then adjusted R square had to be calculated. So adjusted R square is 1 minus R square, and then we have n minus 1 upon n minus k minus 1. This is what we have. So k means the slope coefficient 3. If you include the intercept in the k, like if you include intercept, then it will be n minus k. Then you have to test the significance. How will you do that? You will form the test statistic. How are you going to form the test statistic? So this is test statistic. This is, so for example, let's say this is beta 1 hat, this is beta 2 hat, this is beta 3 hat, this is beta 4 hat. How do you calculate it? Beta 2 hat minus 0 upon standard error of beta 2 hat. And more to that, the t value is also 1. You do not even have to choose which t value you need to work with. So if the t test statistic comes greater than or equal to this t value, or it comes less than this t value, it means that you have to reject it, which means it will be significant. Very easy question. Again, the overall significance. So first part done, second part done. Third part, test for overall significance of the model. How do we check overall significance? Overall significance is checked using the F-test statistic. I hope the screen is properly visible. Otherwise, I will use this portion. Okay, let's just use this portion in case my video is getting in between. So in the F-test statistic, it's again very easy. We have done F-test statistic in terms of R square. You remember? You just have to use that. Or koi mat use karo. Use the R square one. R square upon upon K. Then 1 minus R square K. So K here do not include intercept. If you include intercept, it will be K minus 1. And over here, it will be n minus k minus 1. Again, if you are not including intercept, if you include intercept in k, it will be n minus k. You just have to do this. Again, critical value is given to you. If the calculated F comes greater than critical value, you reject it, saying that the model is significant. And it will come out to be significant. Or we will have to see what R square values will come out to be. Okay, so that's how you have to do. Okay, let me just see the chat box if there is any query. So cutoff will depend, Ruchita, it depends upon the preparation of students. If students were not conceptually ready, then the cutoff might go lower or might be same or it might go up. So cutoff depends upon the answer quality you will write. So Bushra, in the numerical questions, there is this, then the page limit, like not word limit, but the number of pages you take approximately gives the idea, right? So there also word limit come, and you should not go over and above. If you're doing a lot of steps, that also represent that there is some sort of problem you might have made in calculation. Okay. If you couldn't find r bar square, so step marking would have to be seen because it's just 10 marks given here. But somewhere around, if we give second part and third part would be having higher proportions, you can think about 2 marks, something 2 to 4, yeah, something like that. So it depends, step marking. Now the third A, specify Leontief closed input-output system. So there is an open model, there is a closed model. So they are asking about closed one. They're asking that under what conditions the non-trivial solution is going to exist. So in the closed model, because there comes the columns are linearly dependent, that is why we cannot find the solution easily. So they are just asking about the closed model. First, you have to explain that in closed model we include the labor also as a sector, and each and every sector, each and every industry is dependent on each other. So everyone is supplying their output to others as input. And then you have to just tell that, okay, how are you going to get the solution for this model? So this question was also very direct. Like if you have done input-output model, so you must have studied closed model, and this answer is also doable here. Why do you prefer coefficient of variation? Now this question came from measures of dispersion. Usually in paper of statistics, the questions do not get asked a lot. This question, something similar question was there in PYQ also, but this was a question we have put in test series as well. So again, the happiness was on another level after seeing such type of questions. So coefficient of variation, why is it preferred? So coefficient of variation is preferred. So for example, if you're comparing two type of data set and they are having different units of measurement, we cannot use standard deviation because they have their own units of measurement. So it will not be a fair measure of using that. So coefficient of variation is basically equal to standard deviation upon mean. So it allows you to skip the unit of measurement and actually come to a same scale when you're comparing the two type of data, even having different units. So it was a theoretical question, but was an important thing. So it's your duty, wherever you study or whatever you do, or you do self-study, whenever you learn something new, ask why are we using it? Ask what is the meaning of this. Do not skip to the numerical part only, thinking that IES can only, in IES exam, you're only going to get that. Okay. Now, very easy question it was. Then C part, regression equation of y on x. X is fixed at 5. What will the regression equation look like? Like this question was really easy. But it's something like, when I see this question, I feel this is for the people who are just learning regression, I believe. Like they have told you everything. X is fixed at 5, everything. And they're asking how is the equation going to look like? This is how, these are the golden marks you will get. 4 marks, the golden. So how do we write the equation? It's yi equals to beta 1 plus beta 2 xi plus mu I. So they are saying x is fixed at 5. So yi equals to beta 1 plus 5 beta 2 plus mu I. So this, when x is fixed at 5, this entire thing becomes my intercept. So only the effect will be shown through the RSS. Now question number 4a, derive the Pareto optimality conditions in consumption in a two commodity framework with two consumers. Two direct question. Like when we start teaching this Pareto optimality concept, this is where we start. Two basic. So 10 marks, again a golden chance. So this was very direct, very easy, doable from the concepts only. Show that Pareto optimality may not ensure equitable distribution. Again, a negative side of Pareto optimality, about which we always talk when we do Pareto optimality. So 18 marks. If you have done the concept of Pareto optimality conceptually, so 18 marks to free. Bilkul, totally. You just had to know the concept and it's done. Now coming to question number 5A. Okay, coming to question number 5A. Distinguish between monopolistic and monopsonistic exploitation in determining wage rate under imperfect competition. So here they have just combined two, three things together, but it's not very difficult. You have to explain them properly that how does the both market structures under imperfect competition are going to behave while determining the wage rate. So again, not very difficult. For 7 marks it came. Trade unions have a role in reducing the monopolistic exploitation, but not the monopolistic exploitation discussed. So this is something related here. So when you will talk about the wage rate, so after talking about the wage rate, you have to bridge this gap while coming to part 2. So you will be connecting the dots basically to tell that, okay, trade unions cannot just reduce the monopolistic exploitation, whereas they can do it in later. So what 3 marks only? So 3 marks ke liye, you know what little you have to write. So it was entirely on the wage determination. So A part secured. Compare the views of Marx and Calder with reference to theory of distribution. What could you have asked for? Like directly asking you कि what are their views. तो direct लिख दो. सबसे पहले talk about Marx के views, then Calder के views, and then compare on the basis of those contrasting points. So again, very simple question. Okay, so Sadaf is saying, ma'am, topics seem to be somewhat frequent, but the nature of the question is changing. Yes, of course. This year, the nature of the question has changed. They have shifted to theoretical. So now for the people who are appearing in 2024 paper, do take a note. Do not leave the theory thing. So after your classes, after your self-study time, get back to your books. 6A, in a duopolistic market, the first mover's advantage disappears as one moves away from quantity adjustment model to the price adjustment model. Given a statement, you have to elaborate the statement. So you have to explain that, okay, how the first mover advantage is going to disappear, right? Then a monopolistic competitive market is there where we have 11 firms with the identical demand and cost functions. So we have been given the demand and cost function. We have to determine the maximum profit, corresponding price, and the quantity. So you had to maximize the profit for these firms. That's what you have to do. Assume that the number of firms in the industry does not change and you just have 11 firms. So if you have done the market structure, so market structure always remain an important part. Market structure always remain an important part of microeconomics. So this is for all of you who are going to appear in 2024, that you do not have to leave the market structure topic. Okay? Now, 7th A, production function following constant returns to scale can follow diminishing returns to a factor. Justify with a logic. So they have asked for logic. They are saying ki, do not just fill the sheet, but give us the logic. So they are saying ki when there is a production function which has constant returns to scale, can follow diminishing returns to a factor. Which means that, okay, even if, production increases at the same level at which your input is increasing, but the factors, which mean the labor and capital, can themselves follow the diminishing return. So that's how you have to go about this thing. Okay. So Rishabh is saying people had shouted too much about paper 1, moving almost towards genes, mathematics. Yes, people are always crazy behind paper 1. They always think कि पता नहीं क्या ही वो है. So in paper 1 also conceptual knowledge can never be skipped. Okay. Here again a very direct question, a very static question, that discuss the concept of technical efficiency as proposed by Federal. How is it different from allocative efficiency? So you have to talk about technical and allocative efficiency, talk about their differences, illustrate your answer graphically by considering two input and one output framework. So again, a very direct question. Question number 8. Explain the concepts of a weakly separable and a weakly additive utility function. So as soon as you read questions, you will realize that these are too direct. सीधा सीधा पूछा हुआ है. Not they are asking you to criticize, comment. सीधा do explain it. The concept of a weakly separable and a weakly additive utility function. So write that. No, 10 marks may you have a lot of content to write. So it's not difficult here. Now coming to part B of it, in Edgeworth's model, an increase in demand will lead to a rise in price. This question is something which usually gets asked at the bachelor's level. So bachelor's level pe we study all of this, and then master's level pe again we come and study this. So they are asking in Edgeworth model, an increase in demand, when there comes an increase in demand, it will lead to a rise in price. You have to justify your answer. So whatever you take, either you go with yes or you go with no. You have to justify it. So do not forget to make the diagram. Now, next question is something, wherever you have come from, whichever university you have done from, ये तो सबने सुना होगा, that a monopolistic can charge higher price in a market with less elastic demand. So less elastic demand means that people are not going to change their quantity demanded a lot when price changes. So the monopolist has a incentive to charge higher price. He can charge higher because he know people are not going to decrease the demand a lot. So this question you won't make without diagram. And this question is something they have asked in 4 marks. I believe this could have been asked in the entire, the 18 marker thing also. Then also you would have been able to write this, because this is such easy. Right? Now let's come to question number 9, which means section C. Question number 9A part. Heteroscedasticity is a problem in cross-section data but not in time series data. So as soon as we see this question, the first thing comes to our mind is that, okay, we have done hetero, we know how do we detect it, we know how do we correct it. But and we always do hetero in cross-section data, but time series में तो किया ही नहीं. So यहाँ पे, as soon as you see such questions, a little tricky question, the first thing you should do is you should think, if they're making a statement, how am I going to support that? Here they have clearly made a statement. So you just had to think, how are you going to support this statement? We know heteroscedasticity is a problem in cross-section data. So 50% of the answer to done hai, because we know it's a problem. We know why it is a problem. We know unequal variance, so OLS key assumptions will not be fulfilled, and hence we will not be getting blue estimators. The inefficiency will come, minimum variance won't come, the reliability of the testing will go away, the t-test, f-test, all of them are not going to be reliable. But why not in time series it is a problem? Because in time series, we work with the same individual over a period of time. So this different variance for a same individual is not a frequent problem. So ऐसा नहीं है कि time series में there will never be a heteroscedasticity problem. There can be, but it is treatable also, but the frequency of this is really less. It does not happen a lot. So this question just needed few seconds of time process before you begin writing it. So Rishabh, I understand it's a competitive exam. Rishabh is asking it's a competitive exam, and if exam being this direct, how does a person stand out? So for standing out, you need knowledge. Knowledge can be tested conceptually or numerically. So this is the way only. So what happens is people get into a manner कि numericals ही करनी है. They get into this habit. So this, for breaking this habit, we had to go direct. Because when you do numericals, you leave out the concepts. You will get stuck in concepts also. अगर concepts पढ़ोगे ही नहीं, तो लिखने के लिए भी कुछ नहीं होगा. right? Yes, push right. This will be uploaded on YouTube. Yes, definitely. Now, this question again, this type of question, all those who are student of Ecoholics here, do you agree with me? This type of question we had in our weekly test. The people who are from test series maybe. So this is a question of detecting multicollinearity. This type of question, that how do you detect multicollinearity, how do you detect multicollinearity, or whether, like, not even saying that there is multicollinearity, but to detect the problem is something a lot of people must have done. So it's very easy. So here, first you have to interpret the coefficient. How do you interpret it? You have to, अच्छा, one thing here is that these parentheses have the value of t-test statistic and not the standard deviation. Standard errors nahi hai ye. So please be careful. So interpret them. I can see that this is the only significant coefficient. These two are insignificant. So you have to interpret them. Identify the problems in the estimation. So what is the problem? I can clearly see that R square is very high, whereas only one coefficient is significant. Also, the number of observations is less. The education and the employment do not show the correct sign. Like if you educate, you get less employment. No, right? So that's how we will write this. How can you improve estimation? It means you have to talk about remedies of multicollinearity. You can draw a variable here. GDP and price looks like to be correlated, so you can drop the price variable. So very, very easy question here. So distinguish between the deterministic trend, stochastic trend in time series analysis. If you have done time series, and if you have done time series in understanding what it is, I believe this 8 marks is free for you. Deterministic trend क्या होता है? Deterministic trend is like t square, where the trend gets entered in the function of time. Stochastic trend is the thing where it acts as a random shock. So we do random walk model with drift, without drift. What is that? We have stochastic trend and deterministic trend. So stochastic trend ko how do we remove? It's removed by different stationary process. And deterministic trend has to be removed by trend stationary process. So ये भी बताओ that how these can be removed. So this question was very, very good question, I believe, because till the time series से आज तक ज़्यादा questions आए नहीं थे PYQs में. But I felt really happy that they have come to the time series portion as well. And this trend thing is really, this is a minute thing when you learn time series, but they have created a 8 marks question. Really good to see that. Okay. Now question number 10A. This question. How principal components are obtained from eigenvectors corresponding to covariance metrics of the variable in a given sample. We shared notes with our students and we shared the exact explanation, like literally exact explanation we shared, that how principal components are the eigenvectors. They are the eigenvectors corresponding to the covariance matrix. So what is covariance matrix? We build a covariance matrix depicting the covariance between the variables. So for example, I have a two-dimensional variable structure. So I have 4 elements here. So for this matrix, eigenvector give me the direction of the variance, and eigenvalues, corresponding eigenvalues, tell me the amount of variance contained in the each principal component. So this was a 10-marker question for at least Ecoholics students, I believe, was very easy to score, right? Do you agree? Anyone here? Do you agree, guys? Coming to question number B, first part, time and factor reversal test. So index numbers say 2 questions came. 10 marks directly from index numbers. Now you know what are time test, time reversal test, factor. Time reversal test, what do we say? That if we reverse the time of index, there should not be a difference on the result. Factor reversal may we reverse the factor. So we know which, and then in this answer for extra bonus points, you can also mention the index numbers which satisfy this or which do not satisfy this. This is a direct question, never came to calculate the index numbers, but I remember when I was teaching the index numbers in one class, one student came and asked. I really remember this conversation that why are we doing it? It never have came, and I believe it will never come. If it would have been important, it would have been asked by the UPSC till then. I told her that no, it's not like this. Since they have mentioned index numbers, they can ask you anything, and it's your duty to know how to calculate it. Then the same student took the admission in the test series and then the test series of Ecoholics, and then she again came to me saying that you have put the calculative questions of index numbers. Do you think UPSC will ever ask this calculative, that where you have to go and calculate the price index using a formula? I told her that you should not be thinking in this direction and you should instead focus on what is being asked. So that's how you should never think कि ये नहीं आएगा या ये ही आएगा या whatever. You should always be focused on doing your part instead of thinking what will come or not. So again, if you would have not followed this approach कि सीधा है direct question है और मैंने नहीं करना, so you would have scored a good mark here. Question number C, part C of 10. Interpret the coefficients from the estimated questions. So this is again a double log model. First equation is a double log model. And another one, what is another one? I'm writing this equation in case it is not visible. Log y hat equals to a hat plus v1 hat x1 plus v2 hat x2. So you have to interpret the coefficient. You know what does beta 1 hat tells here? So beta 1 hat tells the proportionate change in y given the absolute change in x. So it's the log-lin model. So basically the dependent semi-log model we also call it, where we have a log in dependent variable and not an independent. So this was again a very direct 5-marker question. So you see from the same topic, which is the functional form of regression, 2 type of questions have come. एक ये आया था, the back elasticity wala question also came. Coming to 11th, what are the basic properties of idempotent? So idempotent matrix, you know, mention the properties and its application in econometrics. Now when you come at application, might be you have to think about it, but if you have done it properly, if you know, then it won't be very difficult for you. So again a direct question, thoda sa strategic thinking chahiye isme. You required a strategic thinking here. So that's all. Yes, Sadaf, correct. You're saying correctly that syllabus is must to follow instead of being the judge. Now this part B question was little different. Why it was different? Because it comes from a difference equation. A difference equation was not properly a part of IES. So why have they asked it? They have asked it. Now they are also mentioning the required details. So they are saying that, okay, we have a second order non-homogeneous difference equation. This is the difference equation, which has 2 components, particular solution and homogeneous solution. So explain the implication of these 2 solutions. So first thing is you have to identify these solutions and then you have to talk about their implications. Okay? So this was a little tricky question, but if you just pay a little attention to it, if you will think about it, you will be able to do it. So we will be discussing this question in detail on our app. We will be conducting the discussion sessions on our app. So you can just wait for that and we are going to discuss the complete solution for this. Part C, differentiate between concavity and quasi-concavity. So concavity and quasi-concavity. So quasi-concavity is a weaker notion of concavity. So it means something as if concave. So quasi-concavity tells you about the maximum in case of constraint optimization, whereas concavity talks about maximization in all cases. Okay? So you can talk about their applications, you can talk about their meaning, you can talk about how do we get their values using the differentiation as well. Differentiation करके कैसे निकलते हैं उसके बारे में भी you can talk. What is the implication of point of inflection in a short run production function? The short run production function में what is point of inflection? The first thing is point of inflection का मतलब होता है where a curve is becoming constant but it is not changing the shape. तो production function में उसकी implication you have to write. Now, 12th question. Two input Cobb-Douglas production function derives short run supply function. Exact same question we had in our test series. So 15 marks in your pocket. Exact same. So you had to derive the short run supply function. Then this is from game theory. There are two forms. So this question, again, the whole proof will be done on our app discussion. So you can just join us there as well. Selling a homogeneous product, they can charge high price, low price, and this is the game we have here. So Nash equilibrium find करना है. Nash equilibrium finding is very easy. Just check the best response and find it. Dominant strategy check करनी थी. If there is dominant strategy, then tell that. If there is not, then explain it and move ahead. Now question number 13a. Substitution effect is always negative by using the weak axiom of revealed preference theory. अब substitution effect negative होता है, weak axiom के through explain करना है. So you have to bring both the concepts and just talk about the negativity of substitution effect. Then this was a little numerical we had. Here we had to explain the behavior of farmer using substitution effect, income effect, and endowment effect. So this is the entire question. We had to know the details, we had to read the details, and we had to do the proper thing. So since these questions will require a lot of time, of course, it's not feasible to do them in live. So I'm just sharing the approach. How do you need to go about them? We will be discussing the detailed solution. And yeah, so that's how this will be done. So in this question, since we have the information like this, so in the questions where there is a lot of information, your duty is to read each and every detail. So farmer grows 70 kg of X1, 20 kg of X2. He keeps some part of X1, X2 for self-consumption and sells the rest in market. Utility function is given by this. Prices of X1, X2 are given. Now it is being said that the price of X1 increases to 4 and at the same time his consumption, it means the self-consumption also increases. So you have to talk about substitution. What do we have? Here we are going to break down the effect. We will be using the utility function, the utility curve, we will be using the budget line also, and then we will break down the price effect. We will break down to show the substitution effect. Substitution income effect से दिखाएंगे कैसे change होता है. So this is a question which will require details. लेकिन बहुत if again of course बहुत थोड़ा सा conceptual question था, so you needed to know the proper breaking कि कहाँ पे क्या required है. So 15 marks आ सकते हैं इसमें, like 15 marks are easy for that, but this required a deep thought, a detailed knowledge. So this question was also not very difficult to do. Some people might be finding it difficult because it requires the diagram. ये question without diagram नहीं होगा. You require a diagram for understanding this question. Now, we have discussed the approaches. We have totally discussed the approaches to each and every question. We have talked about the methods which are required. I have told you formulas. Detailed discussion will be done on app so that it is possible to us. It's not possible here. We will be solving each and every question there, for which you will be notified soon. So I feel if we do a general analysis of this paper, I feel that this paper was not something very difficult to crack. G1 paper, it was very easy. I won't say it was very easy, but it was something, if you have learned the concept, if you have paid attention to learning the concept, then this paper was not very difficult for you. Tricky nahi tha. Usually what happens is that there comes a lot of ulte seedhe numericals which take your time. But here the questions were direct. So time saving tha paper, even though depth of paper was little more as compared to other years, but I believe it was even more easier than the 2022 or 2021 paper. So So you can let us know your thoughts. What are your thoughts? And also, if you have been the one preparing for the 2024 attempt, I have a really good news for you. If you want to enroll with us in any course, in any test series, we have a 25% off for you, which is valid till tomorrow only. So till tomorrow. But it will be, it is, so if you have watched the live session only, you will be able to take the benefit because others do not know about this sale. So it is exclusively for the people who have been in the live session till the last. So for getting your coupon codes, for getting your discount codes, call us at 7880 to get your coupon code. So you have to call us and get your coupon codes and you can avail a 25% off, which is exclusive only for the people who have come till the end of the live. So our batches for IES are already running and new batches are going to start soon. So it's your choice, whatever you want to choose. We have a 25% off on that. Do we have any questions here from my side? That's the end of the session. If you have any questions, I can take them. So Rishabh is asking how to know that how much content is needed in a question. So Rishabh, it depends upon how the question is being asked. The question कैसे पूछा गया है? Whether the question is asking you to talk about the basics, whether it is asking you the advantages, disadvantages या criticism, तो उस पे depend करता है, and also the marks. 5 by 5, 5 was Nash. Okay, Akshay. If the goods are complementary, it's only SC there, right? So, Rishabh, I think you're asking it for a respective question, that substitution effect wala. So, yes, for that, you can join us on the app for the discussion. We will be solving the entire question there. Meg is saying, thank you, ma'am. Your teaching process is too good. You really covered all conceptual part in class. Thank you so much, Meg. So, this is really good to know that an actual student of ours who is there in the live right now and they're telling us that we have covered all of that. Nothing is more happier, nothing is going to give me more happiness than this. If a student comes and say that we have covered almost everything in the class which appeared in the paper. Rudita, my pleasure, Rudita. So we will be, you guys will be learning more things. You just have started now. You will be learning a lot more things. So just be regular like the way you have been. Sahin is asking, please discuss last year's RBI DPR paper 1 question. So Sahin, we had a complete live session for discussing the RBI paper 1. There is an entire video. Sanat sir discussed that paper. So you can go to our YouTube channel of Ecoholics and you can just watch that. My pleasure, Ashwini. Okay. So I hope everyone is happy after their papers. However your paper went, do not take a lot of stress. If you have done the best from your side, you will be going to crack it. So just pray and just get relaxed now since your paper is done and just wait for your results. If you have done your best, you are going to get the best results. Okay? Okay. So I believe that's all for the session. If there are any other queries, any other things you want me to take up, please let me know. So learn topic for 2024 aspirants. Focus on the concept. Do not skip reading the books for which your teachers tell you. Okay? All right. I believe all the queries have been taken. So there are no more comments, no more chat I can see in the chat box. So all right, everyone. Have a great Sunday tomorrow. Good night. And do not forget, we are going to discuss the paper 2, GE2 paper tomorrow on YouTube Live. Savri ma'am is going to come and discuss that paper. So do join her for talking about the approaches and the answers for the GE2 paper as well. Now, I take leave from your side. Good night, everyone.